House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack at the Capitol, sending a strong message to a longtime Trump ally for defying a subpoena. The panel is scheduled to vote to recommend criminal contempt charges against former Trump strategist Steve Bannon. Now, Bannon failed to appear for a deposition on Thursday, prompting the chairman of the committee, Congressman Bernie Thompson, to say there will be zero tolerance to defiance of the panel's subpoenas. After the House vote next Tuesday, Bannon could be referred to the Justice Department, leading to potential fines or jail time. Joining us right now to talk about this, Stanley Brand, the former general counsel to the House of Representatives. Thank you for being with us this morning. So Steve Bannon is actually following the direction of former President Trump here. He said to refuse to comply with the subpoena because former President Trump believes that documents and testimony sought by the committee are actually covered by executive privilege. But does executive privilege truly apply here?
Well, that's a legal question. The courts haven't really addressed how executive privilege might apply to people outside the president's top advisors. But there are at least some people in the Justice Department who in previous iterations have taken the position that it could cover people outside the government who the president seeks advice from. So that's an open question.
When you say it's open, though, I mean, who can give us clarity? Will it be up to the courts to decide? I mean, for the simple fact that not just Steve Bannon, but others have resisted complying with these subpoenas, and it's all because of former President Trump's urging to, say that you don't have to.
Yes, well, the Supreme Court in a case involving President Nixon, who sued the General Services Administration over their custody of his records, the Supreme Court said that former presidents are entitled to claim that privilege. Whether it should apply or not is something that would have to be worked out in the contempt case. If Steve Bannon is indicted and goes to trial, I would imagine one of his claims will be, I can't be criminally charged for something I'm doing in response to a claim of privilege by the president. And in fact, the Department of Justice since 1983, when I was House counsel, had taken the position in both Republican and Democratic administrations that witnesses cannot be placed in criminal contempt under the statute who are responding to executive privilege claims. And so the department's going to meet itself in this case if they charge him, because their own written legal opinion suggests that this statute shouldn't be used against people who are under a claim of privilege.
This is interesting and giving us a lot of light, because I'm sure there are so many viewers, so many people who wonder, why is this taking so long? It seems as though they're getting away with something or getting away with impeding this case. But what you just said gives us a bit more clarity here. Since it is a Democrat-led panel, right, it's likely that Bannon will be referred to the Justice Department, or at least that's what a lot of people are saying. What penalties could he face if what you're telling us about executive privilege is thrown out the window and there is some contempt charge? Does this even apply?
Well, after a trial, if he's convicted, he could be subject to the penalties under the statute, which are no less than 1 month or more than a year. But I have to point out that historically, these cases have been very troublesome to the courts. In the 1950s and 60s, the Congress brought hundreds of these cases against alleged communists or communist sympathizers. And a good portion of those, if not a majority of them, were reversed on appeal for technical insufficiencies or legal problems in the prosecution. So it's a very long road to go before Bannon would have to face incarceration. And at some point, he might agree to comply if he loses all of his legal rights in the courts.
Stanley Brand, thank you so much for your expertise, your insights. We appreciate you joining us this morning.